Easter, we continue in how we know Jesus in a new way after the resurrection. So we started out with Mary and the women going to the tomb to find it empty, and how they encountered Jesus and went back and told the other disciples. And then the story of Thomas, not sure if he understood the resurrection, that Jesus was back. And he encountered Jesus. So now we move on to the third story. On the third Sunday in the season of Easter, we remember how in the afternoon of the first Easter, two of Jesus' followers make their way slowly toward Emmaus, some 7 miles from Jerusalem. They must have been shaking their heads in wonder as they walked and talked of what had happened. The cross, the empty tomb, what did it mean? A stranger joined them. They didn't really pay much attention until he asked, "What are you talking about?" They said, "Are you the only one in Jerusalem who has not heard what has happened, what has taken place in these last 3 days?" He asked, "What happened?" "The cross? The empty tomb? There has been so much." "You are foolish and slow of heart. Listen." He opened the scripture to them. "Do you remember how we were trapped in Egypt and Moses led us out through the waters into freedom? Do you remember how we were trapped in our freedom in the desert, and God gave Moses the 10 Commandments to guide us? Do you remember how we were trapped in exile, and the prophets said a child would lead us, and that someone would come to suffer and die so we might be really alive?" By this time, they were in the village of Emmaus. The miles had passed quickly as the stranger talked. He was about to go on when the two asked him to stay, and so he did. When they sat at supper in the inn, the stranger took a piece of bread. He gave thanks to God for it and broke it. He then shared it with them. That was when they knew who he was. But in that moment, he was gone. They sat at the table for a time, talking. Now they knew why their hearts were burning within them as they walked with him on the road. They got up slowly and hurried back to Jerusalem to tell the rest that they had been made known, that Jesus had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. Now I wonder if we have any stories that you remember from this. Maybe the story about Moses freeing the people of God. Maybe about Moses taking the people to the mountain. I wonder if you remember the story about the exile and return. I wonder if you remember what the prophets said about the coming of a Messiah. I wonder if you remember the stories about the Eucharist.